2 videos in, and rich countries keep winning this series in ways that don't match the price tag. Chicken and rice, Norway won. Bread, Switzerland won. Today, milk. And the twist starts before we even get to the math. A liter of milk costs more in the United States than it does in Switzerland. More than in Norway, too. On paper, America has some of the priciest milk on the planet. Same 7 countries as before. Let's see if the pattern holds or if it finally breaks. Quick recap. I take the price of one item at a normal store, not a tourist shop. I divide it by that country's legal minimum wage per hour. Not the average salary, the floor. What the lowest paid worker actually trades for what's on screen. It's not a perfect measure. It skips taxes. It skips rent. Most people don't live exactly on minimum wage either. But it strips out currency confusion. It shows you something a price tag alone can't. I've got a glass of milk sitting here while we go through the numbers, same as the bread and the rice before it. United States first, still our baseline. Federal minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. A liter of milk costs $3.31. That's actually one of the higher milk prices anywhere in the world. More expensive than Switzerland, more expensive than Norway, at least on paper. Part of that comes down to how American milk gets priced, processed, and distributed compared to countries with smaller, more localized dairy supply chains where the farm and the store are often just a short drive apart. Divide it out and you get 27 minutes of work for 1 liter. Russia next. Minimum wage there works out to about $1.68 an hour. A liter of milk costs around $1.73. Milk sits at the center of a lot of Russian cooking and baking, from kasha in the morning to pancake batter and farmer's cheese made at home. It's one of those ingredients that shows up in the background of a dozen different dishes without ever being the headline. Divide it out and you land at 62 minutes, over an hour, just for milk. Vietnam. Minimum wage in Hanoi sits at 98 cents an hour. A liter of milk costs around $1.60. Fresh milk isn't as central to Vietnamese cooking as it is elsewhere. Condensed milk plays a bigger role, stirred into iced coffee, drizzled over shaved ice desserts, a habit that goes back to French colonial imports when fresh dairy didn't travel well in the heat, long before refrigeration solved that problem. But a plain liter still costs close to 98 minutes of work, just under an hour and 40 minutes. Now Nigeria, and the pattern from the last 2 videos holds again. Minimum wage works out to about 28 cents an hour. A liter of milk from a city supermarket costs around 90 cents. Much of Nigeria's dairy is imported. Local production doesn't come close to meeting demand, despite the country having one of the largest cattle populations in Africa. Most of those herds are raised for meat and for milk sold informally in local communities, not for the packaged, pasteurized products sitting on a supermarket shelf. That gap between traditional herding and modern retail dairy is part of why the store-bought price stays high. Divide it out, and you land at 195 minutes. 3 hours and 15 minutes. Almost the exact same number as the loaf of bread, down to the minute. 3rd video in a row, Nigeria lands at the very bottom. If that pattern is starting to feel familiar, and you want to see if it ever breaks, hitting subscribe means you catch it whenever it does. Back to the numbers. Switzerland now. Same setup as before. No national minimum wage. Set canton by canton. Geneva's the highest. $24.59 an hour. A liter of milk there costs $2.42. Cheaper than in the US, even before we touch the wage, thanks in part to heavy government support for Swiss dairy farmers who supply most of the domestic market and rely on that support to stay in business at all. Divide it out and you get 6 minutes. 6 minutes of work in the country known for some of the most expensive chocolate on earth. Norway. Hospitality sector wage floor, $19.50 an hour. A liter of milk in Oslo costs around $2.30. Norway protects its dairy farmers hard. High tariffs, strict quotas, almost no foreign competition allowed in, a policy built to keep small Norwegian farms in business rather than let cheaper imports take over. That keeps the price up for everyone, but the wage floor is high enough to absorb it. Divide it out and you get 7 minutes. Just behind Switzerland this time, not ahead of it. Last country, Egypt, and this is where the story flips completely. Bread in Egypt was nearly free. a government price fixed by decree since the 1980s. Milk gets no such protection. Minimum wage works out to about 57 cents an hour. A liter of milk costs around $1.08. Divide it out and you get roughly 114 minutes. Almost 2 hours for 1 liter of milk. The same country that topped the entire bread list by a landslide falls to second to last on this one. Here's why that gap exists. Bread in Egypt is treated as political, a basic right the government has protected since before most people watching this were born. Milk never got that same treatment. It's not baked into the same subsidy system, not distributed through the same ration cards, not fixed by the same decree. Egypt still produces most of its own dairy, so it's not an import problem the way it might look at first. It's simply a product the state decided not to control the price of. One food got protected, the other one didn't. That single decision is the entire reason Egypt goes from best on this list to almost worst. So here's the full order, cheapest to most expensive in work time. Switzerland, 6 minutes. Norway, 7 minutes. United States, 27 minutes. Russia, 62 minutes. Vietnam, 98 minutes. Egypt, 114 minutes. Nigeria, 195 minutes. Compare that to bread. Egypt was first there at 3 minutes. Here it's second to last. Switzerland was fourth on bread at 8 minutes. Here it wins outright. Nothing about these countries changed between videos. Only the product on the table changed, and that alone was enough to scramble the entire order. 3 videos in, and Nigeria has landed at the bottom every single time. Egypt swung from best to second worst in 1 video, and that US milk price alone should have made this one closer than it turned out to be. It wasn't close at all. Once the wage got factored in, the countries with the highest hourly pay pulled far enough ahead that even their steep grocery prices didn't matter. This is really the whole point of running the same 7 countries through different foods. A government can fix the price of one thing and leave another completely exposed to the market. A rich country can make one product outrageous and another one nearly free in real terms. There's no fixed rank for any of these countries. Only the item on the plate changes it, every single time. Next time, we're doing eggs, since a lot of you asked for that last time. Same 7 countries. Drop your prediction in the comments before we get there. Before you go, 2 things. If you want to see whether Nigeria ever climbs off the bottom of this list, subscribe. That's really the only way to know. It costs nothing, and it just means the next one shows up without you having to search for it. And tell me one more thing in the comments. Is there an 8th country you think belongs on this list permanently? One we should just keep testing every single video from here on alongside these same 7. I'm genuinely considering it. The comments will decide, same as they decided eggs would be next.